Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, saints and ain'ts, congratulators, participators, manipulators, and all those here. Welcome to another episode of The Throne Room, also known as The Bigger Picture. We have Sean Bigga, man of God, here today, and with our most esteemed guests in the seat of esteem, Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar. Welcome.
Thank you, Queen. Glad to be here.
So glad that you are here indeed. One of the most prophylactic images and voices in the movement that we know as the conscious movement. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Glad to be here.
We are glad you are here. I like to start with what's going on because I have been a follower and a donator of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy.
Yes, ma'am. A supporter, not a follower.
A supporter, yes, indeed. One of the only school that is going to be funded by our community
Yes, ma'am.
that is not going to be government run,
Correct.
is not a charter,
That's right.
not an actual institution of learning
Yes,
for
ma'am.
our young men and our young women. Tell us where we are with
The
the
Frederick
academy.
Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, where we are right now. Day before yesterday, the plumbing contractors, they finished insulating the pipes. We had the inspectors out there, and the inspectors told us that the pipes had to be insulated. The plumber thought we didn't have to do that, but they said according to the new code, you do. So they just finished that up. We now have to get the drop ceiling racks leveled. We had them repaired last year, but they were not leveled. And so we don't want the ceiling coming down on our children.
No, we do
So we
not.
have to get the drop ceiling racks re-leveled, and then we'll put the tiles back in. We're going to have a paint day probably next month or early January. We have about 10 classrooms that either need to be tiled or carpeted. We're going to probably do that after paint day, so no paint gets on the new carpet or the new tile. But at this point, we're largely at cosmetics. We're at the end. The biggest challenge right now, to be frank with you, is the runaround that we get from the city. So, for example, we have windows in the school, and we took all the wooden boards off the windows, and somebody sent a brick through one of the windows. So we boarded them back up, and we're about to get that window repaired. But I want to put bars on the window so nobody can send another brick through. So I reached out to the fire department, and 2 or 3 times has not called me back. So I had the school's attorney reach out to the fire department 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been called back. So I'm not going to rush the judgment on that. But I'm sure if I was the complexion for protection,
Correct.
I would have already gotten an answer, because you're holding me up on getting that window repaired. And I want the metal bar up there so nobody can break it again, because those windows are rather expensive. They're about 8 feet wide, 8 feet tall. So we don't want any more, surprises. And then we have to get our final building inspection after we get the final fire inspection. Nothing that we shouldn't be able to pass. But again, when it comes to, our ability to communicate effectively with different departments in the city, they're often missing in action when we need them. And if I would say, I would probably argue that part of the reason for that evasive behavior is due to the fact they never thought we would finish up. They didn't think we would get the job done. And now that the job is done and we need them last 2 stamps, people ain't calling us back, people not showing up. But I'm gonna be patient with it. But push comes to shove, I might have to go to the mayor's office, and put some fire under those folks. And if he don't put no fire under them folks, then we might have to have a protest. I might have to bring the whole African diaspora to Wilmington, Delaware, to let them know that you're not going to do us like that.
Kemet wasn't built in a day, doctor. So we know this work that you're doing is going to change a whole entire generation.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe the generation thereafter.
Yes, ma'am.
And because Kemet wasn't built in a day, and there was so many hands on deck, there were so many minds on deck, why do you believe that we're not seeing the support for this movement? There's so much celebration about the paper schools, the charter school that Brother LeBron started. There's another charter here in New York City that Puffy is the face for. But this is something far more powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we not seeing the support?
Well, I would argue that we do have the support. We don't have the support from our celebrity class.
Correct. That's what I meant.
But we do have the support on the celebrity side, because I know many of them.
Yes.
I think the reason why we've never gotten a donation from a celebrity is twofold. Number one, they're very concerned about how it would look if they were seen with Dr. Umar Ifatunde. So on, you have that fear factor that I don't want to lose my relationship or access to the white power structure. I think that's one half of it. I think the other half of it is ego. When our celebrities put their money behind different causes, they like to brag about it. They want to be glorified for doing it. They can't do that with me because white folks are not going to be happy about them helping me in the first place. So if you help Dr. Umar, you have to do that very conspicuously, you see. And they don't want to do that. They want to put up the big check sign all over TV, all over the internet, CNN. You can't do that with me because I'm not popular with Caucasians, nor are they popular with me. And so for those two reasons, the fact they can't brag about any help and the fact that they could be some pushback for them helping me, they just stay away. But I'm not concerned about that, though. And the reason why I'm not concerned about that, as a student of our history, especially our revolutionary movements, most of our movements was built with the pennies and dollars of grassroots black folks. We were not financed by rich celebrities. There was always a Harry Belafonte here and a Dick Gregory here. But by and large, 99% of our grassroots organizations were built by the pennies of the brothers and sisters on the ground.
Absolutely.
So we don't come from a movement where the rich people financed it. We've never had that anyway. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy was built with the pennies and quarters of African people all across the diaspora. And to be honest with you, I think spiritually speaking, it was meant to be that way. Because if a celebrity did come on with a big check, I'm sure they would expect me to tone down this message, co-sign this message. I'm not going to do that. I lived my life as a free black man, and I didn't wait to get into my 40s to start compromising because the person who wants to subsidize me happens to be a political coward. I'm never going to play that game. I'm always going to be me. So if you're going to donate, but it's not coming with any stipulations. That's exactly why we're not charter. That's exactly why we're not public.
Thank you for that. That is where that says so much, because I think when we see the celebrities with the publisher clearinghouse check and the photos and the hugging the kids, it kind of reminds us of the political campaigns.
Yes.
Of the kissing of the babies and, let me get the brownest baby in the crowd and hold them up, like Simba and the Lion King and kiss them. You do not want that kind of message, that misleading imagery, because what I hear you saying is this is going to be authentic.
Yes.
And the roots of it must be authentic.
Absolutely. We're serving African children for the benefit of the African community. This is not, a fashion show. You have a lot of schools out there that are fashion shows. They look beautiful, but nobody's learning. And no disrespect to my brother LeBron James, because I respect him. Black man, black wife, black children, great father. I respect him, but he is the face of that Akron public school that bears his name. And for the past 3 years, not a single black child passed the 8th grade math assessment in that school in the state of Ohio. 3 consecutive years, and nobody passed the math assessment in 8th grade at the LeBron James school. Now, here's a celebrity pumping millions of dollars into this public school. It's not his. He don't control it. It's not his school. It's a public school, but he is a subsidiary of that school. He's subsidizing it. And for no 8th grader to have passed that math test, what is that telling you? It tells you that it doesn't matter how much money you pay white teachers to educate black boys, they're not going to do it right. See, everywhere else they will argue in New York City and Philly and Atlanta, LA, Houston, they're going to argue what? The teachers are underpaid. That's why they're underperforming. You can't use that excuse with the LeBron James public school. They're overpaid. And nobody passed the math assessment. I have always made this argument. Money is not the issue. It's how we prioritize school spending. And number 2, on the psychological side, if white people don't like black people, it don't matter how much money you pay them, they still not going to like black people. It's the same thing we deal with when you see these cultural sensitivity trainings. They'll come into the public school and give all these white racist women a cultural sensitivity training so they can relate to the black children better. If she don't like black people, I don't care how many hours of cultural sensitivity training she get, she still isn't going to like black people. It's a contradiction.
Correct.
So, just getting back to my point, I think the situation with the LeBron James school, is tragic, but it is also prophetic, because I've often told people money is not the issue with schooling. Look at Margaret Collins and what she did in Chicago with half the money. Most of our independent black schools function on half the money. Our independent religious black schools function on half the money with better outcomes. Money is not the issue. The number one predictor of academic success in the classroom is teacher expectation of success. It is the teacher's attitude that dictates success, not money, not poverty. You see that? Because they'll blame it on poverty, they'll blame it on fatherlessness, they'll blame it on the mothers being in public assistance. That has nothing to do with it. Does this teacher believe these children can grow? That is more predictive of academic success than any other factor, including finances.
Very powerful point. When you mentioned how it wasn't the celebrities or the rich that put money into our institutions of learning, or any of the businesses that were created specifically for black people by black people. When we talk about the school system, once before integration, we had our own schools.
Yes.
It may be the Little Red Schoolhouse. My great grandmother, who was born in Hope County, North Carolina, 1904, she went to the Little Red Schoolhouse, and that was grades 1 to 8. Do you believe, and the teacher expectation there was very different. These
Yes.
teachers were part of our communities. These were the
Yes.
sisters that were at church. These were the sisters at the market. Do you believe integration hurt us, our control of educating our children?
Great question. First, I would argue that the United States of America only desegregated, it never integrated. And there's a difference between integration and desegregation. Desegregation is the legal removal of all restrictions and barriers that allow you access to a certain aspect of society. We're only eliminating the legality that keeps you from participating. Integration is when I guarantee you access. America never integrated. America only desegregated. So, for example, if you go into New York City, you go into Philadelphia, you'll see schools that are 85, 95% black, right? They were desegged. There's no law that says white children can't come here or black children can't go to the predominantly white school. They were desegged. They were not integrated, because if they were integrated, you would see a 50-50 split. So America desegregated, America never integrated. With that being said, when we go back to 1954 and the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, May 17th, 1954, actually came out of undergrad the same day. That's why I remember the date. When the Supreme Court said race has no place in American education, white people started taking their children out the public school system and putting them into the private school system. The largest expansion of private schools in American history took place between when? 1954 and 1974. White people said, if our children have to go to class with these Negroes, they're not going to class at all. So the private school movement, you had private schools before May 17th, 1954, but you had an explosion in private schools after May 17th, 1954. White people started taking their children out. Now, for the white people who could not afford to do that, the federal government gave them a program by which they could resegregate special education in 1975. So 20 years after school desegregation, they gave us special ed. So now let the black children into the white school building, but say they can't keep up with the white kids. They're retarded. They're intellectually disabled. They're emotionally disturbed. They have ADHD. They have conduct disorder. They have oppositional defiant disorder. The white man's argument is, we're not discriminating based on race. But these children have problems that do not allow them to compete in a regular classroom with our white children. So to help the black child, we're going to give them an IEP, inferior education program, and we're going to put them in a separate class that caters to their disability. And so special education gave birth to the resegregation of America's public and charter school classrooms. Special ed was the weapon that allowed them to take us back 30 years. Now, let me go back to segregation for a moment. Not everybody supported the 1954 fight that was taken up by Charles Hamilton Houston, Thurgood Marshall, NAACP Legal Defense Fund. W.E.B. Du Bois didn't fully support it. We had many of our artists coming from the Harlem Renaissance who didn't think it was a good idea for black children to go into schools with white people who were racially hostile and insensitive to them. But here's the biggest mistake we made when we allowed them to desegregate us. We didn't mandate that the black teachers must accompany the black children when they started getting bussed into the white schools. You know what they did? They laid the black teachers off. They said, we're only taking the children into the white public school. We don't need your teachers. So just like I told you, the greatest explosion of white public school was 1954 to 1974. The greatest layoffs for black teachers was also 1954 to 1974. They lost their jobs. They lost their careers. And as a result of that, the independent black schools began to shut down because most of our people thought that an education sitting next to white children would be better. So here we are, 64, 74, 84, 94, 04, 14. Next year is 24. So next year we celebrate the 70th anniversary of school desegregation. Has it been a success or a failure? Dismal failure. You wouldn't have special ed if there was no desegregation. You wouldn't have ADHD in a public school if there was no school desegregation. You wouldn't have city police in the public schools if there was no school desegregation. There would be no school to prison pipeline if there was no school desegregation. So there would be no disciplined schools if the schools never deseg. So when you look at the major systems in place in public and charter school that disadvantage our children, they were all put there to deal with the fact that white people had to start teaching black children. And the white teacher taught our children, but sent hers to the private school. Do you know that most white teachers in predominantly black school districts, children do not attend those school districts? They send them to private schools. So what is that telling you? My child isn't here because I don't intend to teach your child. But I'm going to go a step further. The black community has to take ultimate responsibility for the miseducation of our children. Why? Because we already know what white folks are about. We've been at it for 404 years. And one thing you got to give white people credit for, they have been consistent for 404 years. They don't change clothes like we do every 40 years, right? For 40 years, we want to be integrationists. For 40 years, we want to be nationalists. For 40 years, we want to be revolutionaries. For 40 years, we want to be passive. We helter-skelter because we don't have no sense of identity, so we always changing who we are. Do we want to be Americans or do we want to be Africans and Americans? Do we want to be pretendians? Do we want to be this? Do we want to be that? We are so uncertain of who we are because we want to be accepted by these people. And let me be clear, one of the reasons why American Africans can't really achieve a collective sense of identity is because we want to be accepted by white people. See, the reason we're always switching who we are and what we stand for is because whenever white folks give us this illusion of inclusion and we think we're finally going to get in, we will morph into something else just to be accepted. You saw it when Barack Obama got elected. When Barack Obama got elected, I seen die-hard nationalists, die-hard freedom fighters start saying, Dr. Umar, you might be wrong. America is beginning to change. They have no choice but to let us in. So they let Barack Obama rock us to sleep for 8 years. And then Donald Trump came and woke you up with the alarm clock. But back to that education piece, just to close it up, it's our job to educate our children. It's not fair to ask a white woman to prepare your child to take bread from her child's mouth. That ain't fair. Why would I go to white people, understanding how ruthless and unfair they are anyway, and ask them to prepare my son and daughter to compete equitably with their son or daughter? When you ask a white person to educate a black child, you're asking them to make sure your child can compete with their child in the job market, in the business market. It's not fair to do that. The members of one race should never be entrusted with the education of the children of another race, because whoever teaches the children dictates the future. The question becomes, why are we not building our own schools? That's the biggest question. Now, charter schools, they're still public. So for me, that's not much progress, because the government decides whether you live or die. They can shut you down whenever they want. The school we have in Wilmington, Delaware, that was a charter school started by black folks. And guess what? They got accused of financial mismanagement and extremely low test scores. They shut them down. If they don't get shut down, we don't get that building. I used to be a charter school principal and vice principal. I know the hoops you got to jump through in order to keep them schools open, because charter schools were founded by white folks who wanted to separate their kids from black children but couldn't afford the private school. So the charter school became the school in between. You see that? The school in between. We can't afford to pay $20,000, $30,000 a year for private school tuition. So they made a deal with the state legislature, and I believe Minnesota was the spearhead of this, and you know Minnesota is all white. So they said, we're going to come up with something called charter. It's run by the community, but it's still funded by the state. That's what a charter school is. It's run by the community. It's still funded by the state. We have no control over those. Our original fight was what? Community control of the public schools. Remember that? Back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. We said we want to control the school, right? We have final say over the principal. We have final say over the dean. We have final say over the curriculum. We have final say over the student code of conduct. We should have never gave that fight up. Why did we give it up? Thirsty Negroes love money more than freedom. When they heard about the charter school movement, and they said, wait a minute now, this charter school thing ain't bad. If I get a charter, I can pay myself $150,000 a year as the CEO. Hire Bigga to be the principal. He doing all the work, but guess what? I can still legally be paid as the CEO because I'm the founder of the school. So once a lot of the community control of the public schools activists found out they could get a check, a salary from the charter school movement, you ain't heard another word about community control. Everybody ran out to the charters. And the danger of the charter movement is charter schools pick and choose their students. Legally, they're not supposed to do that. Legally, everybody's supposed to get raffled in. I work in charter schools. Let me tell you the real deal. They handpick the kids off the waiting list who got the highest test scores. You see that? So the children who really need the school the most, really need the guidance the most, they not getting into them schools. And the reason why you see so many charter schools in black neighborhoods is because charter schools are the face of gentrification. Let me say that one more time. Charter schools are the face of ethnic cleansing. I'm gonna give it to you like this. There's a section of the Bronx that's heavily black. There's a section of Newark, New Jersey. It's heavily black. There's a section of Houston, Texas. It's heavily black. There's a section of Harlem. It's heavily black. We got to get them Negroes out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to let white folks open up a charter school, but we're going to let a black person front it, i.e. Sean Puffy Combs. We're going to let a black person front the charter school, right? Most of the teachers is white. Most of the staff is white. Faculty is white. You got black in there, but there's a lot of white folks working in these charter schools in the black community. They move into Harlem. They move into Brooklyn. They move into Philly. They buy up all the real estate. See that? They buy up all the abandoned buildings, renovate them, fix them up. Property tax goes up. And guess what? All them black kids who go to that charter school, their parents can't even afford to live in a neighborhood no more. And even though charter schools are not limited to geography, you could come from anywhere in the state for a charter school, but it's no longer convenient to put my child on a bus from the Bronx to go to this charter school in Harlem, or put my child on a bus in Queens to go to this charter school in Yonkers, because they're going to sit in traffic for 45 minutes. I don't want my child with a 1-hour commute to school when they could walk 5 blocks to school. You see that? So charter schools are how they get rid of black folks, because guess what? When you start seeing all the white people move in your neighborhood as the parent of the child, you're not going to say anything. Why? Because that's the math teacher. That's the science teacher. That's the assistant principal. That's the dean of students. I think it's a good thing my child's principal lives around the corner. I think it's a good thing my son's math teacher lives down the street. You don't even realize this is a takeover. This is an ethnic cleansing. That charter school is only there to raise the property tax and get you all up on out of there. Wherever you see a lot of charter schools, you see gentrification of black folks. Why you don't see a lot of charter schools in white suburbs? Why do you not see a lot of charter schools in white suburbs? Because no one's trying to gentrify the white suburb. They're trying to gentrify the inner city. If you do your research on charter schools, most charter schools are founded by white folks, even in a predominantly black city. White people love black kids that much? Wait a minute, you're telling me the grandchildren of the same people who fought against school desegregation love our children so much that they're coming into the ghetto, opening up charter schools so we can learn better. Charter schools are about money, and charter schools are about what? Political power. You know why politicians like charter schools? Because if he gets a charter, if I help you get a charter in Brooklyn, I help you get a charter in Queens, I help them get a charter in the Bronx, I helped them get a charter in Staten Island. You got a 300 student school. He got a 1,000 student school. She got a 700 student school. That's 2,000 students. He got a 500 student school. That's 2,500 students. Every child got 2 parents. Do you know how many votes that is for me on election day? Do you know how many votes that is for me in election day? That's 5,000 guaranteed votes. Who not gonna vote for me? And I'm the reason your child got a better education, or so you think. So politicians love charter schools because it guarantees turnout on voter day. Charter schools are not about educating children. They're about money, power, gentrification, and votes.
Say it again. I think there was so much promotion of the charter. We seen it explode in New York.
Yes.
I mean, it was a movement that started off very small. I think Harlem Success was first.
Jeffrey Canada, Kip
Yes.
charter, and he has some in Philly. He's all around.
Yes. Yes. Parents stressed out, burnt out, getting on these waiting lists with a prayer and a hope that my child is going to be selected. And now we're seeing the first graduating class, the 8th graders from the charters. We're not seeing the results we thought we would.
And you're not going to. Because they didn't open up them charter schools to educate black kids.
Right.
They opened up them charter schools to take over black communities. You see that?
Harlem.
Right? And then the charter schools that claim they're improving academics, not so fast. So your charter school been open 5 years, hypothetically. Every child you brought in was below basic in reading and math, right? 5 years later, 75% of your kids proficient in reading and math, right? That's a good turnaround. You went from under to proficient, 75% in 5 years. Congratulations. Only problem is, when I look at a picture of the student body year 1, it changed year 2. And when I look at the picture of the student body between year 2 and year 3, it changed in year 3. And when I look at the student body from year 1 to year 5, almost nobody who was there in year 1 is there in year 5. You did not improve test scores. You understand that? You simply expelled children who were underperforming and brought kids in who were overperforming. Charter schools don't improve grades. They engineer the student population so it appears that the school is doing better when you're only bringing in better students. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. I happen to know so. So I know some. So I want to leave some room for that. You understand? But by and large, charter schools do an excellent job of false marketing their improvements by expelling children who don't do well and bringing children who do well. Like a lot of charter schools will say, if you fight one time, you get expelled. We got a major charter school movement in Philadelphia run by white folks. If you fight one time, you get expelled. I beg your pardon? Children fight. That's a part of life. Your job is to teach them conflict resolution as opposed to fighting. You don't expel a kid for fighting, not hitting somebody with a weapon, not drugs.
No, just a fight.
Just a fight. They get kicked out. Why do you think they have such a stringent discipline program? Because I need the discretion to get rid of you if your test scores are not helping me improve. Now, let's take me. I'm one of your students at the charter school, right? I happen to be one of the highest testers in the state of New York. Hypothetically, right? I'm a badass. I fight. I beat people up, but I never get expelled. See this? You got expelled your first fight. You got expelled your first fight. I'm on my 5th fight. I ain't been expelled yet. You know why? Because of my test scores. I know children who got expelled from charter schools a day before graduation, a week or two before. Yes, because they want to pull them test scores right on out the average. Oh, yes, they do this. Yes, it's a scam. And the reason you're seeing so much charter is they're trying to slowly and secretly eliminate public education. And why? The United States Constitution doesn't give you a right to learn. The word education is not in the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution, those white supremacists up in Philadelphia a couple hundred years ago, they never said everybody has a right to get an education. So a lot of taxpayers, most white people, either send their kids to private schools, their children are already adults, or they don't have no children. Do you feel me? And so they're wondering why am I paying taxes? Because, school taxes are pretty high.
Yes, they are.
Why am I paying school taxes when my Constitution gives nobody a right to learn? Why am I paying for a service that my Constitution does not guarantee? So they want to phase out education altogether. And the only kids who will get an education are the ones whose parents can pay for it. But here's the problem. Why can't they just shut down all the schools in the black community tomorrow? Why can't they just say, y'all failing, y'all been failing, everybody know y'all failing, we shutting them down? You know why they can't do that? Most teachers are white women. Most voters are white women. The American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association are the 2 largest unions in America. You don't become a president of the United States without one of them 2 teachers unions backing you. Do you see that?
Correct.
Do you know what the number 1 job of the teachers union is? Getting people elected. You shut down a school. I promise you, if they ever eliminate public education, and they might, who's ever president the year they do that will not be president the next election. Who's ever governor in your state the year they eliminate public education will not be reelected. The problem with eliminating public education, what do you do with all these millions of white women, privileged, middle class, snow bunnies who vote for you and who contribute to your campaign and whose teacher union is the financial power backing of most major gubernatorial and presidential elections? That's the problem with eliminating public education. How do we do it and not suffer the backlash from the snow bunnies and their white teacher unions?
What is your thought on the homeschooling movement? Which
Homeschooling
seems
is
to be
good.
taking on?
Homeschooling is good, but it's not a solution. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
You and Bigga, y'all could homeschool. Y'all financially comfortable enough to do it. 2/3 of our children are raised by single mothers who are not financially comfortable enough to do it. When I hear people scream about homeschooling and everybody should homeschool, you're not being realistic. If a single black mother in New Jersey, a single black mother in New York, a single black mother in Boston, working 2 and 3 jobs, raising 2 and 3 kids, when's she gonna get time to homeschool? She will have to put her kids on the computer when she's at work. And you know what they're gonna do when she's at work? They're looking at everything except the academics.
Correct.
So it's not a solution for the community because our kids are raised by single mothers. And you know why the black community pushes homeschooling so much? Because nobody wants the responsibility to have to give up some of their disposable income to build the schools that we need. You see that? That's one of the reasons why I get pushed back with FDMG. Why don't you just do an online school? This is what I get all day long. Why you just do an online school? Can I ask you a question? Is there any research that shows kids who learn at home learn better than kids in the classroom? Zero. There's no proof that you learn better at home. In fact, you learn worse at home. COVID quarantine proved that.
Showed that.
Remember all the
Yes.
problems with the COVID quarantine?
Yes.
Kids looking at porn, kids Snapchatting, kids sleeping, but putting a still shot on the screen as if they woke and watching. It don't work. And guess what? Children get bored from being at home. They want to interact. They need to be in a big building. COVID proved that homeschooling is not a solution, especially if you live in a single parented household. But you know why it's being pushed by white folks? It's financially efficient. If I start a homeschool, do I need school buses? Do I need a lunchroom? What else you need in the school? Do I need security guards? Do I need bus drivers? It's financially efficient. A homeschool charter program, because you got charter homeschools, right? Cyber charter schools. Oh my goodness. They don't have to spend money on nothing. They ain't got to pay for no lunch. They ain't got to pay for no class trips. You see this? They get to keep most of the overhead. Parents like homeschooling because they ain't got to worry about the kids getting suspended and they have to run up there and reinstate them or pick them up. Homeschooling is convenient for the adults. It's not a benefit for the children. Children learn best around other children and face-to-face instruction, and that's what we're going to give them. People pushing homeschool because it's efficient. We don't want to be bothered with our kids. Nobody wants to be bothered with black kids. Not the white teachers, not the black parents. So just homeschool them. This way the white teachers ain't never got to be bothered with them. They can just interact with them through a screen and stay they lazy white asses at home. You see that? You see that? I can stay at home and teach through the computer. So of course the white teacher going to be for homeschool. Lazy ass black kid. I could be on my Snapchat, my phone, eat all day, have my girlfriend. Of course the kids want it and the parents want it. But does it benefit us for where we need to go? Hell no. And I'm going to tell you another reason why homeschooling is not a solution. What's the number one thing black kids need to learn how to do? Get along with each other without killing each other off.
Absolutely.
You can't do that with his child isolated in his house and your child isolated in a separate house and your child isolated in another house and my child isolated in another house. How do they ever learn black community conflict resolution? How do they ever learn peaceful negotiation with violence? You're still keeping them isolated from one another. If it's one thing black children got to be taught how to do, it's how to work together for the benefit of the black community. You can't do that at a homeschool. And let's go to the curriculum. Let's say I designed the curriculum. I'm the principal, right? How do I know it's being implemented in your home the right way? How do I know it's being implemented in your home the right way? How do I know it's being implemented in his home the right way? Homeschooling is not a solution. It's a temporary intervention. The solution is for us to build our own schools, but black people ain't got time for that because black people ain't got the time for nothing that benefits the collective that requires them to use their money. And the reason why we are dead last in this country, politically, economically, and socially, is we do not use our disposable income to benefit our own. $30 billion on hair, $2 billion on Air Jordans every year, $4 billion on liquor, $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, about $41 million on children's cologne. You mean to tell me we could spend $40 million a year on children's cologne, but we can't even open up our own schools? And then you got Negroes running around talking about we need black history in the schools. I'm not supporting that. And people ask me, Dr. Umar, don't you think our kids need to know who they are? Yes, but I don't want no snow bunny teaching them who they are and where they come from. Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Fannie Lou Hamer? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Ida B. Wells? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Mary McLeod Bethune? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Queen Mother Harriet Tubman? Why do I want a white man teaching my son the Honorable Marcus Garvey? Why do I want a white man teaching my son the Honorable Nat Turner? Why do I want a white man teaching my son Bishop Henry McNeil Turner? They have no business interpreting our racial experience to our children. That's our job. Now, last time I checked, we have an explosion in African studies programs at HBCUs and PWIs, right?
Yes.
So if you got thousands of black people with a PhD in African studies, why the hell they can't teach the kids? You know why? They want to get paid. Negroes are selfish and Negroes are greedy, and we don't want to do nothing for ourselves unless the white man paying for it. The reason the world doesn't feel sorry for American blacks is we got enough money to change our whole reality. But guess what? We more concerned with looking good and outdoing the next Negro as opposed to cooperating with each other so we can all do better. We're the only race who doesn't weaponize our money to benefit ourselves. Mexican dollar is weaponized for Mexican people. Chinese dollar is weaponized for Chinese people. The Jewish dollar is weaponized for Jewish people. The Arab dollar is weaponized for Arab people. When is the last time the black dollar been weaponized? It ain't never been weaponized. Why you think you don't get no respect when you go out and vote? Next November, they're expecting us to go and vote for old crusty Biden or old crusty Trump. Neither one of them are going to do anything for black folks, and they don't have to. You want to know why? Because we haven't weaponized our dollars or our votes along a black community agenda, forced them to follow it in exchange for the vote. We voting as Democrats. We voting as Republicans. We not voting as black people, and that's why we gonna lose. Jews vote as Jews. Mexicans vote as Mexicans. The LGBT vote as LGBT. When black people gonna vote as black people? Until we put the race first. Until we start fighting for what we need as a people, we'll never get nothing. Because if you're not important to yourself, If you're not important to yourself, why would you be important to the United States government?
All right, so this is where I want to chime in at. I respect everything you say, and I agree with a lot of points that you say, but it's points that I have to point out. So I went to private school, as most of you know, so I don't know much about the public school education. I went to private school all my life. The private school I went to was a Christian private school, CCA Academy. Shout out to Christ Crusader Academy. I am a Christ Crusader, always will be. That's who I am. Now, when I went to school, sometime around that time, they came to us and they said that they was taking the Bible and the scriptures out of schools. They said when they did that, that was going to affect everything. Now, for a fact, I know that is a fact, because if we was being educated about God, so many of these things that the brothers spoke about is dealt with right on a godly level. Now, being that I am who I am, and I come from a Christ background, my enemy will never be a man. There's no flesh and bone that could ever be my enemy. And I have to make that clear. I wrestle against Satan. I wrestle against the principality. Now, the principality can control various people. That could be any color, any person, anything. I can't focus on a race or a color, because that's not real. Anyone is breathing the life of God, and you are God's children, and God is no respecter of no person. He deals with you as long as you are in accord. Now, if you study the scripture, which I know you know, our people are under a curse because we were disobedient. Our people are under a curse because at some point we disobeyed the laws of God and we went our own way. And that is scripturally for thousands of years said that this was going to happen. Now, at this point, when I'm in private school and they tell us that Bible is being taken out the school, I didn't know. There was no charter schools at that time. This is what I witnessed with my own eyes. I'm from Harlem. The first charter schools, I don't know where they came from, but I seen them in Harlem. They were imitating the private school. So in private school, I had to wear a uniform. Every day we stood out. Everybody knew who we were. It was no confusion. Those are private school kids. Those are Catholic school kids, because we had to wear straight uniforms. Now, when they opened up the charter schools and they started putting them in uniforms, it confused the whole system. And now you don't know, is that a private school kid or is that a charter school kid? Now, because I didn't go to a charter school, maybe they didn't have Bible. Maybe they didn't have education. Maybe they didn't teach them the things that they was teaching us in a Bible school, that is dealing with scripture, that is teaching you how to be in accord with Christ. So now, speed up to the future, all of these things happen. You know what I'm saying? During the same time, rap music went from an educational standpoint to almost glorifying gangster rap standpoint. All of these things happen in the attack. Now, I have to understand, do I blame a man for any of this? No, the devil is really wicked. He's really the prince of darkness. And those who understand me know that he exists. And if he exists, he takes you over through your mind. So the weakening of our mind and not getting the education of Christ. People coming around, and no disrespect to you, because I think you know this. People coming around say, oh, he's a white man. This is a white man's religion. All of that hurt, because the truth is, the whole scripture is Black history. The truth is, the scriptures is all dealing with actually Negroes. So once we were stolen all of that and that was taken from us, whose plot was that really? Was that this white man's plot? Or was this the dragon's plot? That woe unto man, the dragon comes onto earth to make war against the sibling of the one that is caught up to the throne. You see, I can never ignore what we are really fighting. And I can never promote that we're fighting any type of man. We're fighting something much greater than that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, brother.
Did Satan put us on a slave ship, or did white people put us on a slave ship?
Absolutely Satan. And matter of fact, let me retract that. The sin that we encountered, the sin that we stepped in, we put our own selves on that slave ship.
Who built the slave ships and who brought them to the coast of Africa?
You would say the European?
Who else could have done it?
Even if the European did it, would you say he was not demonically possessed? Who controlled the European?
Your interpretation of his behavior may be that he was possessed by a demon.
Mm-hmm.
But the observable action, whether it was a demon or not, it was Caucasians who enslaved African people.
Absolutely.
Who mass incarcerates us right now? Satan or white people?
We mass incarcerate ourselves.
How can you mass incarcerate yourself? Do we lock ourselves up?
Every time that you go against and you make a bad decision, that is called a sin. And I need everybody to understand what I'm saying right now. Because you see, we all have God in us. So we ain't gonna play that game. You know what I'm saying? When you go to do something wrong, there's a voice in you that has already guided you. You have it, your ancestors had it, and everyone had it. When you decide to go against that voice, there is a punishment that is going to come about. Now, if that punishment comes about through the hands of this man, that means that man's hands was just used as a tool.
And you're relying heavily on individual decision. I'm talking about systemic issues and challenges that are placed within certain communities to disadvantage the members of those communities. Whereas the same behavior is done in the white community, but they are not persecuted or prosecuted for it as much as black people are. White people commit most of the crime, but black people are disproportionately, charged and convicted for the crimes. So if you're going to say it's us, what about the fact that white people are not being held accountable?
This is where the scripture comes in to point at. Now, so this is where your color comes in, and when people speak about color, the scripture already told you, Israel is going to bring salvation to the people. Israel will bring salvation. I hope you are familiar with the scriptures. So, with that being said, I just quoted a scripture earlier that the dragon comes down to the earth to bring wrath to the siblings of the one that was caught up to the throne. The one that was caught up to the throne, we already understand from the study in scripture, was the Israelite. His siblings will be who? Are the Israelites. Israelites are the ones who went into the Spanish Inquisition, and they were the ones that was taken into slavery. They were the ones that was taken back to Africa, to the coast of Guinea, caught by their own African brothers that they were really,
Only a minority of African kingdoms participated in the transatlantic slave
But they
trade.
did, though.
Yes, but it was a minority.
Yeah, I believe
The
that.
transatlantic slave trade was a
It was
European.
targeted at a specific Negro people that actually came out of the Spanish Inquisition.
No,
that
sir.
Was actually...
The enslaved Africans came from all up and down the west coast of
Oh,
Africa. Yes, sir.
no.
There's over 40 dungeons. I've been to plenty of them.
So
we came from everywhere on the continent.
everywhere on the continent.
Yes,
so
sir.
you're saying
Central
we came
Africa.
from North to South Africa.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From Northwest Africa,
We got to
all
bring
the way
out the
down
map.
to the top of South Africa.
We got to bring
The
out the map.
dungeons are there.
I got the map.
You don't need a map. You can go to the
Yeah, I
dungeons.
got the map. So
came from
Guinea,
Central
where's
Africa?
Guinea at?
West Africa.
All right. So what is
Cameroon
the land?
is
Wait. What's
Central
the land
Africa,
of Guinea?
Congo.
What's the land of Guinea? Who populated Guinea at that time?
Who?
You tell me. I'm
You
asking
tell me.
you. I'm asking you. I've
You
already
tell me.
said it, actually.
Who?
At the time that Guinea was going, there was our people, was the Israelites that was being caught and enslaved.
I don't agree with that. Not everybody was an Israelite.
I didn't say everyone was.
Okay, but you
I
just
said
said
that.
that
I said
Israelites
that.
were taken into slavery from West Africa.
Yes.
Correct. And I'm telling you, not everybody in West Africa is an Israelite. In fact, most
course
people in
not.
West Africa are
Because-
not Israelites.
Since when? What year would you say that?
Since the beginning of the time.
But again, I don't want, that's a little bit that's a little bit getting off of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because again, you're getting back into the physical thing. I'm not going to do anything physical, period. My enemy is Satan. So I would
But
never,
when you say your
I would
enemy
never,
is Satan,
I would never,
you're
never say,
you're scapegoating an entity who can't be proven to exist.
how can he?
Stay with me. You can't prove to me that the devil exists beyond a shadow of a doubt empirically.
Watch me. I have 4 people in the room right now. Do you know that Satan exists? Thank you. Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? I just proved
That's
it.
not proof, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Proof,
No, it's
brother.
not, and I'm gonna
That
tell you
is
why.
proof, brother.
Let me respond.
That is proof.
Let me respond.
Everybody in this room just
Let me
said that they
respond.
know
Let me
Satan exists,
respond.
brother.
I could be in a room with 5 white folks. Are white people superior to Africans? They will say yes. Are white people superior to Africans? They will say yes.
But they're not here to
stay
ask
with
that.
me. Are white people superior to
No,
Africans?
no,
Stay
brother.
with
They're
me.
not
Are
here.
white people
They're
superior
not
to
here.
Africans? Just because.
They're not here. Ask the people that's
Just
here something.
because you
Ask the
profess
people
a
that's here
premise.
something.
No. Listen to me. Just because you profess a premise, that doesn't make it true. Do
Stop.
you understand me?
Stop.
And the popularity
Stop.
of a view doesn't make it
One
true.
question. Do you
the
did not-
majority
Let me
can
ask
be wrong.
you now. Why? Stop. Let me ask you
Where
now.
is Satan? Show me Satan.
real? So
Show me Satan.
I didn't ask you that.
Satan
I'm
is not
asking
real.
you a question.
It's not real.
So
It's
there's
an
no
idea.
devil.
Prove it. No, prove
So
it.
is there a God?
Prove it.
I'm asking you a question. Is there a
There
God?
is supreme consciousness, yes.
Explain that supreme
Supreme
consciousness.
consciousness is the supreme spirit that governs, creates, and manages everything in existence.
So there's no negative. So Dr. Umar
Negative
saying
energy and
there's
Satan are not the same thing.
There's no, wait, let me finish. There's no principality. There's no Satan that roams this earth that lurks after souls.
What is Satan? Give me a description of Satan.
I just said principality. That roams this earth that lurks after souls.
Okay, this is a being, correct? This is a being. This is an entity that roams the earth looking for souls. Satan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Prove to me he exists. Where is he? Can we talk to him? Can we see him?
He's.
Where is he? Show him to me.
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
You won't. Show me Satan.
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Show me Satan.
Look in the mirror.
Okay. And let me tell you why you said that. You said that because I disagree.
That's not true.
Can I?
Because I would say, look in the mirror to myself.
Let me
So
respond.
watch what you're about to
Let's
say.
go back and
I would
forth.
tell him to look in the mirror.
Can I respond to
I would
what you
tell
just
him
said?
to look in the mirror.
You might.
I would tell him to look in the mirror.
You might, but let me respond to what you said. The reason you said that initially is because since I don't agree with your religious belief, I automatically become your enemy. Stay
How
with
would you
me.
be my
Stay with
enemy?
me. Stay with me.
You're in my home.
Stay with me. That
You're
don't
in
mean
my
I'm not
home.
your enemy. Stay
No,
with
no,
me.
no, no. Stop. You're in my home.
That don't
you
mean
can
I'm
never
not your
be my
enemy.
enemy. See,
You're
don't
not letting me
misquote
finish my point.
Because I can't.
Let me finish the point,
No,
good
I
brother.
can't, bro. I just said no man could be my enemy. So
Listen
you're not
to this.
going to sit here in the
Listen to this.
seat of the esteem and say I'm your enemy. I invited you into my home.
Let me say this to you,
So
good brother.
slow down and rethink
Let
what
me
you
say this to you, good
You're
brother.
not my enemy.
Let me say this to you, good brother. The reason why religion is an evil in the black community, all of
In your
them, let me
opinion.
finish. Yes, in my opinion. We're
Yes.
discussing our opinion.
Okay, yes.
The reason why religion,
And I'm not your enemy.
religion itself
And you're not
is,
my enemy.
religion itself is an enemy in our community. You know why? Because
Your
it
opinion.
breeds accusatory behavior. It breeds elitist thinking. It breeds separation of members of the community.
That is what your
The reason
experience.
we're arguing right now.
I'm not arguing.
Yes, we are.
No, I'm not.
The reason we are disagreeing right now
More good.
and focusing on religion more than solving the problems of our community.
No, actually.
Stay with me.
No,
It's
actually.
because black people who
it is
belong-
solving the
Stay
problem.
with me. No. See how you're over-talking me?
I'm not over-talking
You're over-talking me because
Saying
you
that-
are a Christian.
saying that-
You think that what you have to say is more important
When you
than what
say
I
I'm a
have
Christian,
to say.
what does that mean?
What are you? Are you Christian or are you Hebrew? What's your system of belief?
All right, that's more like it.
Which one is it?
I believe in being Christ-like.
Okay, that's Christian. You're a Christian. Let's simplify it and say you're a Christian. I don't want to play the word game. You're a Christian. So, in Christianity, like all world religions,
That's where you're wrong.
Can I make
stop,
my point,
Stop.
brother?
No,
Brother.
not that point.
in
Not that
Christianity,
point. I don't
you
deal with
believe
Christianity.
that your way
I
is the
don't
only
deal
way.
with Christianity. That's why I asked
You
you to be
read scripture,
careful.
listen.
Christ-like and Christianity is two different
That's
things,
playing with
bro.
you. That's playing
Stop
words.
It.
That's playing
Stop
words.
It. No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is. It's
No,
playing
it's not.
words.
Christianity
You're
is
moving the goalposts.
it's a white Roman thing that was created, and
Okay.
Christians existed way before that, bro.
That's true.
Stop.
That's
Stop.
true. But that ain't my point.
Stop. But that's my
You
point.
believe in the Bible.
That's my point.
You believe
so
in
when
Jesus
you say
Christ.
Christianity,
Do you believe in Jesus
watch how you
Christ?
say that on the camera.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, then you're a Christian then.
No,
yes, you
no,
are. Yes, you are.
I'm a Christian, but not as you said, Christianity.
That's not the point.
Yes,
that
it
is
is.
not the point.
Yes, it is.
That ain't the point.
Yes,
the
it is
point
the point.
is
You have to be
because
careful
you believe
when
in that
you say
book.
Christianity.
Listen.
Because it makes people think that you just associated me
Do
with
you
something
see
I'm not associated
how arrogant you are because of your beliefs?
No, I see
How dismissive you are because of your beliefs.
I see
How angry you get when
see how
people don't
you're not
agree with your
listening.
beliefs.
I see how you're
And that
not
is why the
listening.
black community
I
has
see how
so much
you're-
division.
I see how you're
That's
not
why we
listening.
can't come together. Because you believe
Bro,
your way
we
is
can't
the
come
only way.
together. That's not true.
Yes, it
I
is
believe
true.
God way
and you
is the
just,
only way.
And you just let all
God
white folks
way
off the hook.
is the only way.
And you let racism off
White
the hook.
people are not on the hook. You are
What?
responsible for
Really?
your own sin.
Interesting.
You
Interesting.
work out your
Who
own
killed Breonna
salvation
Taylor?
with fear and
Who
trembling.
killed Sandra Bland?
You
Who
work out
killed
your
Tamir
own
Rice?
salvation,
Who killed
brother.
Freddie Gray? Who killed
gotta
Eric
work out
Garner?
our own
Who
salvation.
killed Philando Castile? Who killed Alton Sterling? White people.
So,
police
let's
working
take it
for the
down a
power
notch.
structure.
Let's take it down
But
a
because
notch.
of your religious beliefs,
Let's take it down
white
a notch.
people don't have to worry
So
about you being held
let's
accountable
take it down a
because you
notch.
want black people
So
to focus
your
on an
religious
entity
belief-
that you can't even prove exists.
That's not true.
You
I
want them to
already did.
focus on a devil
Already did.
that you can't even prove exists.
Already did.
You can't prove the
Already
devil
did.
exists.
Everybody in this
But I
room
can
said.
prove white supremacy exists.
Everybody
but
in
you
this
rather
room said
focus
that.
on the devil.
Everybody
you see
in
that?
this room said.
That's why religion.
So
that don't mean
you
nothing.
focusing on the white supremacy, how is that going to help us? Was that not done way before you?
A person, no,
Was
it's
that
happening
not
now.
done
What do you
way
mean, way
before
before
you?
me? And now.
You're the first person
And
that
now.
focused on white supremacy?
And, no, I'm not.
All right.
But we've
So
never
how has
defeated
that
it.
saved us?
How has focusing on the Bible going to save us?
It never saved us.
We save
Calm
ourselves.
down.
We
upset
save
on my wife.
ourselves.
Let's take it down a notch.
We save ourselves.
Take it down a notch.
But your Bible
Let's
ain't
take it
solved
down
the
a- not
problem
my
we
Bible.
had.
Not my
Your Bible ain't solved the
Not
problem
my
we had,
Bible.
bigger.
Not my Bible.
What problem has Christianity
Not my
solved for
Bible.
black folks?
Not my Bible.
What
Our-
problem
our
has your religion solved for
Our
black people?
Bible. Our Bible.
Religion is a tool of division.
You're saying religion. What does religion mean to you?
I'm not getting into the word game. I'm not
What
getting,
does it mean?
You're moving the goalposts.
No, define the
I'm
word.
not moving the goalposts.
If you say
and I'm not
something,
defining. No,
if you're going to
no,
say
we're
my
not going to play the
religion,
word game.
you have to be clear for the
Listen,
people to
bro,
say what religion means.
You Christian, whatever type you want to call it, that's on you. If I cut hair, I'm a barber. Whether I don't want to admit I cut hair, I'm still a barber.
Oh,
you understand me?
absolutely, I'm a Christian.
If I evaluate people, I'm a
Time out.
psychologist, whether I want to be called it or not.
Christian. I said
You
Christianity.
said you wasn't a Christian.
No, I didn't.
You
bro.
see how you playing word games?
No, I didn't.
You just
I said Roman Christianity.
You just said I
is
never
different
denied
from
being
a Christian.
What did you just say a second ago?
Never being-
You said you
denied
never
being
denied
Christ-like.
Christianity, but you're not a Christian. Did you just say that?
Nope.
What did you just say a minute ago?
No, I never.
I'm gonna
said
tell you
that.
what you said. You played the word
You're on
game.
tape.
You just said I never deny. I'm not a Christian, but I never denied Christianity. You
I
just
never
said
said that.
You just said it.
Never said
Or did
that.
you say the reverse? Which one did you say?
Said that, bro.
Now you're being dishonest. Now you're being dishonest, bro.
And when you replay
See,
the tape,
this is why I don't
when you
debate religion.
When you replay the tape,
This is why I don't
when
debate
you replay
religion.
the tape, you'll see that you're wrong.
What are we
But
going to
let's
do
pass-
about school to prison
Let's
pipeline?
pass that.
What are we going to do about gentrification?
Again,
what are we going to
the
do about
problem
economic
is- the problem
exploitation?
is- and
What are we going to do about mass incarceration?
Again, the
What are we
problem-
going to do about 2/3 of our kids
to
being
stop
raised by
being
mothers?
sinners.
That's what I want to know.
Teach our kids to stop being
That
sinners.
is not a solution.
That is the
That
solution.
is a distraction
That is the
and a waste.
solution.
That ain't no solution.
What you're saying
That
is
ain't no
this
solution.
distraction.
That ain't no
What?
solution.
You give me the solution.
And this is why the white man loves
You
Christianity.
give me the solution.
This is why the white man loves
Give
Christianity.
me- I don't-
This is why
Give
the
me the
white man
solution.
loves you
If it
and
is
loves
not-
Christianity.
Give it to
He
me.
loves
Give
you.
me the
He
solution.
loves you. You
Tell
know
me.
why he loves you?
Tell me the
Because
solution.
you will never deal with the real problems that we can see.
I deal with it every
You will
day.
never deal with the real solutions that
Every
we
day.
can measure.
Every
You
day.
will never tackle the issues
Every
as they
day.
are. You will take our
Every
people
day.
away from solving their problems into a dreamland in a mystery world of Satan's, demons, beliefs, and religion that ain't got a damn thing to do with the problems black people deal with on a
And
daily basis.
unfortunately, it got everything to do with the black people.
And that's exactly
they
why
deal with every day.
That's why Karl Marx said
Every
religion
day.
is the opiate of the people.
So if
it
you
does nothing.
if people
It
was to
does nothing
understand
but
how to rise
intoxicate their
above
minds.
their sin, they will still be in bondage.
What that got to do with systemic oppression?
Everything.
What that got to do with the
Everything
schools?
I've already explained.
So let me
it.
ask you this.
That
Can I ask you a
arises
question?
from sin.
It does. Okay. So what about the miseducation of black children by white women?
Arise by sin.
Who's sinning?
Arise from sin.
Who is sinning in that situation?
The scripture says that you are being
Who is sinning? I asked you a direct
the
question.
children are being
Pastor,
You're
I
not
asked you a
listening.
direct question,
You're not
Pastor.
listening. Let me answer. Your children are being punished by the sins of the father. We are experiencing generations of sin. From the
Religion
first
is
sin-
the best
from
thing
the
that
first
happened to
sin-
the white man.
From the first sin that Adam committed.
Because what
From
religion
the
does,
first
it
sin
distracts
that
us from
Adam
our real
committed,
problems
put all
and makes
of
us
man
refocus on
from the
issues
first
that
sin
have no
that
relevancy
Adam
at all
committed.
to what we're dealing with.
From the first sin Adam committed, put all man into sin.
Where's
And
Adam?
until-
Can you
and
show me the
until-
gravesite?
and it- Yeah. I've
Where's
already
Adam's
did
gravesite
that.
at?
I've already did that, bro.
Tell me, where is the first man Adam buried?
Right under Jesus.
Where's Jesus buried?
Jesus not buried.
You just said Adam was right
He
under
was
Jesus.
crucified.
Okay, but where's he buried after he was crucified? Let's go back to Adam. Where's Adam buried at, the first
Just
man?
told you.
Where?
Where's Jesus crucified at?
Adam is buried, and where was Jesus crucified at?
I'm asking you.
No, you the Christian, not me. I'm not answering your questions. I don't promote Christianity. You do. So I'm asking you, where's Adam's gravesite?
What? I've already answered.
Where
the question.
is Adam's gravesite?
The location
Where
that
Christ was
Jesus
crucified.
was crucified.
And where was that?
What is the significance of that
Answer the question, brother. Where
What's the
was Christ crucified?
significance?
Bigger, where was Christ crucified?
What's the significance?
Oh, my
I've got to know what the significance of you asking that question.
Where was Christ crucified? Because I want to know where Adam is buried. You said Adam is buried where Christ was crucified.
Look it up.
I'm asking you where. Why I got to look it up? Why you can't tell me? I'm
Look
asking
it
my
up.
brother, my knowledgeable
Look it up.
Christian brother.
Look it up, brother.
Okay.
Look it up. You've already
Let's
kind
get-
of been slightly, negative towards any of that. So
Are you-
look it up.
Next question.
Are y'all done sparring?
No. All right. Let
That's
me
why
stop.
I don't discuss
Time out.
religion.
Time out.
I have a
Time out.
policy,
Pause.
and I went against my rules. I don't deal with
All
religion.
right. That's all good.
It's a distraction and a
Pause.
waste of time, and it never solved a single problem we got.
For you. Pause. As I said, I would never promote any war against any physical flesh. This is my brother, and
Yes.
brothers always could disagree. So don't
Yes,
think
sir.
that anything
Yes, sir.
that y'all
Correct.
just watch.
I
This
agree.
is my
This
brother,
is
and
my
I
brother.
have much
Yes, sir.
respect for
Yes,
this
sir.
guy.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
we are black men
Yes,
are
sir.
going to disagree
Yes.
till we find agreement
Yes.
and settle ground so we could solve this. Yes, I am a Christ crusader. That's not Christianity. Those that know me know that, already know that.
But how is you being a Christ crusader benefiting our people's liberation struggle?
Do you know what I do?
Tell me. I just asked you.
I got Dr. Umar sitting here right now trying to help give
So let's leave the
education,
religion
all
alone,
right?
because I think we can agree that
I would never leave God out the equation.
I didn't say God. God and religion are not synonymous. That's the
You
problem.
keep saying
That's the problem
religion.
with y'all
That's
religious
why I
people.
asked you what
God
does
and religion are not
mean.
synonymous.
That's why I asked you what does religion mean to
Religion
you.
is a system of exploitation.
And I have nothing to do with that.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I
You
don't.
use that Bible.
But that's your.
You use that Bible.
Got you. That's good.
Uh-huh.
So the scriptures is not real to you.
What do you mean by real?
Real. You said I used the Bible, so explain to me.
What is your definition of real? When you say the scriptures are real,
what's wrong with me using the Bible? No, stick to that.
Ain't no solutions in it for African people. Not a single solution.
That's not
Ain't
even,
no solutions in that.
So the Bible is just, we shouldn't even have the Bible then.
Well,
we
if you
shouldn't
want
study the Bible. I shouldn't teach my kids the Bible.
I would ask for what purpose? You're teaching them the Bible for what purpose?
Got you.
Let me give you an example.
No.
I study the Bible.
Move on to the next
because
question.
when I talk to Christians, I want to be able to relate to their belief system. Oh, no, I didn't. You didn't answer my question. How are our children benefited from studying the Bible? What does that got to do with solving any problems we got?
Understand right from wrong.
You can understand right from wrong.
No.
There's hundreds of religions in the world that teach you right from wrong.
They understand the history of what have taken place on this earth. They understand
the Bible is not.
Wait, if you ask me a question,
understanding of
they
what
understand
there
is an invisible enemy that is their real enemy. They understand when they hear people that come and speak about things that are in the flesh that is not real, that they focus on their real enemy.
You are a religious extremist.
And to bring their self in accord with God.
This is why Brother Malcolm X said, when we come together to organize, we should leave religion out of it. It doesn't help us organize. Would you agree with that?
No.
You don't agree with that?
How well did he get?
So you think we can organize black folks?
No other way.
How well did he what?
There is no other way.
So we got to go through religion. That's the problem.
You're saying religion.
That's the problem.
I don't believe what you just described as religion. I have nothing to do with.
You're moving the goalposts, brother.
No.
Leave religion out the solution. It's not a solution.
I would never do that. God is the solution.
Narrow-minded people like you
is the solution.
Will always prevent us from solving our
solution.
problems. You believe Christ is your solution, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
And I don't have a problem with whatever solution you might.
I don't have a problem with you believing Christ as your solution.
But just understand.
But you can't force me to believe what you believe.
When did I try to do that?
You said something earlier that was absolutely ridiculous. You said they need to put religion back in the schools.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? If they brought religion back into the schools, there would be wars. Do you know why? Because not everybody believes in Christ. That's why religion ain't in the school. I don't support religion in the school. I don't support religion in the school. You got Christians, you got Muslims, you got Hebrews.
Who's your greatest teacher?
You got Seventh-day Adventists.
Dr. Umar, stop. Who's your greatest teacher?
My ancestors.
But in your life, not the ones that you don't know, who directly taught you the most, was the most significant in your life?
My elders, my teachers, my parents.
Your parents, like your grandmother, your parents.
I learned from everybody.
Did they teach you about Jesus Christ?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, so they believed in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Can we move on? Stop. I don't want to talk about this no more. Move on. Next question. Next question. Next question, bro. Next question.
Can I ask you a question? How much of that do you feel has an effect on you as an individual? Those teachings that came from your grandparents, your mother, your father, in terms of how you interact with others, how you feel about life, how you feel.
Well, good question. But because I'm a Pan-Africanist, I believe in freedom of religion.
But let's stay there. I don't want to. I'm not taking anybody's side.
No. I'm not saying you are.
There's a broader perspective that I.
Right, but I'm answering you, and I'm answering you by saying, because I came into Black consciousness at 9 years old in the 4th grade. I've been a Pan-Africanist since that time. You feel me? That's very early in life. So from the beginning, I never held religion against anyone, and I never forced it. You see what I'm saying? So my issue, for example, many of my Pan-Africanist forefathers were Christian preachers. Henry Highland Garnett, Alexander Crummell, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, Marcus Garvey was a Christian. You understand that? I'm a descendant of Christian pastors. You understand? So I speak in churches all the time. My issue isn't Christianity, it's the way that it's used. And the reason why religion is not a unifying force is because religion is a very arrogant, presumptive, dictatorial, and chauvinist approach to building a relationship with God that alienates people. Religion alienates. And do you know why religion alienates? Because everybody thinks their way is the only way. It is not comprehensive. It is not open-ended. Christians believe their way is the only way. Muslims believe their way is the only way. Hebrews believe their way is the only way. You can't unify people like that because Africans are so spiritually diverse. We belong to every system. So you can't show up with a Bible and say this is the way it's going to be. You can't show up with a Quran and say this is the way it's going to be. The reason why the Honorable Marcus Garvey was the greatest organizer in modern history, although he was a Christian, his organization was not Christian. It was based on African culture, African consciousness, African religion.
And it failed.
No, it did not fail.
It did.
It did not fail. What do you mean?
It failed.
Marcus Garvey gave the blueprint for the independence of the African continent. He liberated an entire continent ideologically. Now, what has your religion done?
It failed.
What has your religion done comparable to that?
It failed.
What has your religion done comparable to that? And do you hear? It failed. Do you see this? So you get that religious chauvinism, elitism. That's what you got. It failed. He pushing the Bible, but Garvey failed. Give me a break. You've done nothing for the African community. Nothing.
Burns, she wants to take a break. She wants to pause. Let's pause.
No, I don't want to pause. I want them to pause.
I want to go in another direction. I broke my rules. I don't discuss religion. Do you feel me? Because of these narrow-minded views that religious black people have. It's not a tool of unity. It's only a tool of division. But the point that I was making is the reason Garvey was the most successful is he's the only one who had the wisdom to say that religion will divide us more than bring us together. And he was a devout Christian. But he knew the religious immaturity of black people would separate us.
Like your grandparents?
So Garvey kept the UNIA ACL focused on African culture, African consciousness, African liberation.
Just think about what you're saying now.
He wants a religious movement. Everybody don't need to follow the Bible. Everybody don't have to follow the Bible. Christianity is only 2,000 years old. Do you know how old we are? African people, modern Africans, been on the planet 250,000 years old. We've been dealing with God for 250,000 years old, and this man wants me to throw out my spiritual heritage and culture and reduce my association with the Most High to a book that he reads. That's only 2,000 years old, and it's not even that, because after the so-called crucifixion of Jesus, who we can't even prove existed,
the scriptures are way more
who we can't even prove
years
existed, the Bible wasn't written down for what, 100, 200 years after Christ? So the religion might be 2,000 years old. The Bible might have been with us for what, 1,800 years old? Do you know how ridiculous it would be for a people with 250,000 years of spiritual culture to throw it out to pick up a 2,000-year-old book? That's insanity.
All right, copy. What version, so we can move on.
And you got over 200 or 300 different versions of the Bible. None of them agree on anything.
I agree.
The whole life of Jesus is reduced to 4 Gospels. They know nothing of Jesus from the time he went into Kemet, spiritual center of African people, where he was taught, studied, and groomed into African spirituality. Where was Christ from 7 to 30? Where was he at? Studying traditional African spirituality at the feet of our ancestors. That's where Jesus was. Everything in his Bible was stolen, borrowed, and plagiarized from traditional African spirituality. Why do I need a carbon copy bootleg religion when my ancestors left me the original?
I think that there's a lot of passion that you're both bringing into the conversation from your perspective and from Bigga's perspective. I'm going to offer you my perspective of what I'm looking at from the outside looking in. From the outside looking in, again, Bigga's bringing into, in my opinion, I've always told people that regardless of every single congregation known to man, between Muslims, Catholics, Christians, whoever it is, there's a unification of every single religion that's known to man, which in my opinion translates into respect another human being. I could just condense every single chapter in the Bible, every single chapter in the Quran, every single chapter in.
But if that's a point you're making, then that's highlighting another contradiction. Because all religions are dictatorial and narrow-minded. They don't respect views of other people. None of them do. Every religion teaches my way is the only way. So when you say every religion believes in that, they may profess it, They don't practice that.
Every religion might profess.
Yeah, they profess. They don't practice that. Religions are not tolerant of beliefs that are not consistent with their own. They're not.
So there isn't an interaction that you would have with a person that's, let's say, a Muslim or regardless of what it is that they're practicing, where they address you in a respectful manner?
Yes, but you can be respectful because both of y'all are human beings. It ain't got nothing to do with the fact that he belongs to this religion and that belongs to...
A lot of those
More people have died in the name of Jesus and Muhammad than any other cause in the history of mankind. Are you aware of that? Let me say that one more time. More people have been killed over Jesus and Muhammad than every other cause of death in human history. How in the hell can religion be a unifying factor?
I feel like when people cannot separate one emotion behind another, that's what a conflict.
I'm coming from another way. You know where I'm coming from? I'm coming from black people are older than Jesus, older than Abraham, older than Noah, older than Muhammad, older than Moses. We're older than all of that. So why we even got to unify through religion, which a lot of us don't believe in because we got our own spiritual system, why we using religion? Use culture. Use culture. We're the oldest people in the world. We have a 250,000-year-old culture or older. Why are we unifying through something that has only brought division to the world? Christianity has only brought division to the world. Islam has only brought division to the world. They have killed, they have conquered, and they have covered up. Why are we using that? We have culture. We have ways of dealing with each other and dealing with God that far predate this 2,000-year-old
I want to end this
religion.
and move on to the next thing.
Why we
because
dealing
we
with
keep
religion
saying
for?
No Christian would
You
kill.
brought it up.
No Christian would kill.
He said no Christian would kill.
No, Christians don't kill. So.
Have you ever heard of the Crusades? Christians don't
Those
kill.
Are not, those
What
are
is he
not
talking
Christians,
about?
man. Those are not Christians.
What is he
man.
talking about?
Those are not Christians. Yeah,
Christians don't
and
kill.
People like him use it.
Christians
Those
don't
are
kill.
Can you please stop? My son is
Oh,
asking me
brother.
a question. I want to explain it to him now.
Yeah, but you said a blatant
Stop.
lie, brother.
Stop.
Christians don't lie. You just lied. You just lied.
Pause this for a second. Pause this for a second.